Okay, my illiterate friends, chapter 11 of Exodus. This is Pharaoh. Many writers wrote this book and failed to consort with one another before slapping it all together. Maybe it was planned that many things are slaughtered several times, but it seems very sloppy. All the animals are dead, and even if they weren't, they would starve to death, and still there are to be slaughtered again. Verse 5, And every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the millstone, and all the firstborn of the cattle. Which only seems fair. But let's back up to another absurdity. Verse 2, Tell the people to borrow each man from his neighbor and each woman from hers objects of silver and gold. The Lord disposed the Egyptians favorably towards the people. Moreover, Moses himself was much esteemed in the land of Egypt among Pharaoh's courtiers and among the people. End quote. Right. Happy to have their land destroyed, happy to lose all their livestock, and have a river of blood, dead fish, rotten frogs, and their children murdered. Of course they think suddenly, after hundreds of years finding the Hebrews abhorrent, that they are people of highest rank, esteem. Verse 8, Then all these courtiers of yours shall come down to me, saying, Depart, you and all the people who follow you. End quote. Get the fuck out and stay the fuck out, you murdering, thieving maniacs, is what was said. Okay, people are so belligerently blind, it really bothers me. In fact, I am offended. Deeply offended. I find your speech about God offensive. So stop talking about God as if He really exists. Otherwise, I'm going to be offended. Okay. Borrowing each man from his neighbor silver and gold and fine clothing. Borrowing is a little bit misleading. What has happened here is that the Egyptians, who apparently didn't have, the Hebrews, this is frustrating. Very frustrating to have to explain this to people. Tell the people to borrow. The robbing is called murder, plunder, and genocide. And trying to make it pretty suddenly at the very end of it is just a big fat lie. The Egyptians were not well disposed to the Hebrews. They're still not. Because the Hebrews were fucking pricks. I mean, I can almost understand some anti-Semitism because this book is a book of hate towards the rest of the world. So why wouldn't the rest of the world find offense in it? Of course, it doesn't mean you should go around killing Jews, but you should certainly tell them they're full of shit. Because they're full of shit. But the problem is, so are the Christians full of shit because they base it on this book. And the Islamites, Muslims, they're also full of shit because they base it on this book, and this book is full of shit. And you cannot start with a big bucket of shit and expect to come out with the truth. It just does not work. Okay? It's all full of shit.